Hello and welcome back to the I Like Numbers and F1 podcast. I've spent about the last hour figuring out which mic I can use to make this sound better. For whatever reason, it's the standard laptop mic. Anywho, Japanese Grand Prix, albeit 5 weeks late, and once I've done this, I will technically be caught up, despite the fact that I technically have to do a Miami Friday wrap up. But as long as I get that out before 5, I am all caught up. Well, actually, I've got to get it out before 4 o'clock, so I've got something to do then. Anyway, the race at Japan. Oliver Bearman and Lance Stroll were the only two retirees. And going from 20th place upwards, Alexander Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez, Franco Colapinto, Carlos Sainz, Arvid Lindblad, Gabi Bortoleto, Adrian Hulkenberg were the ones without a point finish. The top 10 were as follows then. Esteban Ocon with 1 point, Lawson with 2 points, Verstappen scoring 4, Gasly scoring 6, Hamilton scoring 8, Norris scoring 10, Russell scoring 12, and the podium. Charles Leclerc for 15 in third, Oscar for 18 in second, and Kimi Antonelli for 25 in first place, getting a little bit lucky with the safety car after an incident between Oliver Bearman and Franco Colapinto. Let's get into how each team did. Very strong result from McLaren this weekend out 2-5, with both cars starting finally in the season. Actually, all cars starting the entire race, which is it's not first, but it's a surprise that it's taken till round 3 for all 22 cars to start. But McLaren are now third in the Constructors' Championship on 46 points, finally scoring some decent points in a weekend, and obviously getting a podium with Oscar. Obviously going into individual drivers on the individual driver section, this is more focusing on the team's performance in the race. Mercedes were on for a 1-2, 1-3, at least a double podium. But in the end, they finished on a 1-4, boost their lead to 135 points in the Constructors' Championship. Their lead over Ferrari is now 45 points. It's a shock that even after the safety car, George Russell couldn't get through. So the team were only able to get a 1-4. Red Bull firmly in the mid-pack with P8 and P12, only scoring 4 points and increasing their total point score to 16, putting themselves 6th in the Constructors' Championship. Still very far off where they want to be. Ferrari having a much better weekend than Red Bull, however. 23 points for them with a P3 and a P6. 90 points on the board. And firmly second place, about equal distance to Mercedes ahead and McLaren behind. Williams not having a strong weekend again. P15 with Sainz and obviously P20 with Albon, using Albon at the end of the race to try and collect some data to use on the 5-week break. RB scoring some points with a P9 and P14 for the other car. 14 points for them now, putting themselves P7 in the Constructors. Firmly where I expect them to be. Aston Martin still a last place, but they finally finished the race with one of their cars, being Fernando Alonso in P18. Still a long way to go, but it's a start, and obviously 0 points and a last place in the Constructors. Haas not able to score that many points, scoring 1 point with Ocon in 10th, and obviously Behrman crashing after trying to avoid Colapinto heading into Spoon Curve. They are still 4th in the Constructors with 18 points, but are now only 2 points ahead of Alpine and Red Bull behind. Audi did not score any points once again, getting only 11th and 13th after starting in the top 10 with one of their cars. At least they started the race with both of them this time around, but they weren't able to make the most of Bortoletto's qualifying position and remain on 2 points in 8th place. Alpine, on the other hand, scoring the maximum points that they could with a P7 from Gasly, scoring 6 points and putting themselves firmly towards the front of that midfield pack on 16 points in 5th place, ahead of Red Bull on countback. Because they have a 6th and a 7th, whereas Red Bull only have a 6th and an 8th. 2 8ths, to be precise. And last but not least, Cadillac. 17th and 19th with both of their drivers, still a long way from the points, but they finished the race with both of their cars once again, which is always a good sign. So as long as they can find some performance across the 5 weeks, they look like they're in good stead. Obviously 10th on 0 points ahead of Aston Martin. So starting from the back of the grid with the retired drivers, Ollie Behrman. He was on for a decent-ish race, however, coming up to Colapinto, heading into Spoon Curve. Colapinto losing a battery performance, and Behrman deciding to go to the left to try and pass him to obviously avoid running into the back of Colapinto. However, Colapinto defends to the inside, probably not realising the speed differential between him and Behrman, probably just saw Behrman coming at him and was like, oh, I need to keep this position. Moved over. So did Behrman, however, Behrman moved over a lot more and off into the grass and into the barriers with a, I believe, 50G impact. Not what you want to have. He was able to walk away, but he was limping out and around. So hopefully no injuries there. Saying he is all good. It was a scary moment, but everything is okay. So yeah, about 50 kph over speed, and it's just what's wrong with the regs. It should not have happened. This would not happen before. Only by driver decision, i.e. Alonso and Russell in Australia 2023, when Alonso was defending against Russell, wanted a better line and obviously backed off, but even then that wasn't a massive lift off and nothing compared to the speed differential here. Surprising that Colapinto didn't get a penalty, but probably mitigating circumstances given the fact that the incident was caused by the slowing down of his battery, which he has no control over. Personally, myself, I would have given it a little bit because he did move over himself. Had he not moved over like George later on, when George had a similar issue, it would not have caused Behrman to crash. But no penalty, and I can kind of see why, because it's something to do with the regs. Lance Stroll, P21 for him, retiring, and he says he was enjoying the race despite them not being competitive, battling for the last couple of positions. Supposedly a water pressure issue on the ICE. So as long as they can sort that out for Miami, they will be better. Still a long way off the pace, but battling with your teammate is always fun. So I guess that's one thing, the one thing that Stroll can take away from this Grand Prix. Alexander Albon at the back of the field, but not really by choice or performance. He was in traffic for the race, nothing really happened, and it turned into a bit of a test session. I believe he made like 5 pit stops in the entire race and was just at the back of the field for ages. I think he was a lap down compared to Bottas, yeah, and just nowhere really compared to anyone. So Williams deciding to collect some data, see where they can improve. Hopefully, for their sake, they don't have to do that much more, but that's what happens when you get the regs incorrect. Valtteri Bottas, it was a bit of a surprising one for him. He was like the only car that was lapped when Ollie had his his crash, which wasn't even that far into the race, 20 laps in. I think maybe he had a pit stop, and that's why he was back. But he's lacking performance and just couldn't really close in on them. I think after the safety car, 16 seconds off of Alonso in the end. So yeah, a bit surprising. I thought he would have had a little bit more pace, but maybe something fundamentally wrong with the setup of that car from his side. Fernando Alonso finally finishing a Grand Prix this season, and down in P18. It's not bad. At least he has finished a race. That's always a good start, but not really what you want to be saying at round 3 in the season. And at least they were able to finish their engine supplier's home race with at least one of their cars. But next step, finishing the race with both of their cars. Sergio Perez finishing the highest of the Cadillacs in P17. I almost said backfield, but that would include Williams, and Sainz finished higher up. Finishing on the lead lap, which is good for Cadillac, albeit 26 seconds behind the car in front. But it is progress, and it is always welcomed for Cadillac to finish better than they did in the previous race. They will be able to take some data from this race and hopefully improve that car across the period. But other than that, strongest race so far for them. Franco Colapinto, on the other hand, coming off the back of his strongest race, having his weakest race. Spent a lot of time saying at the rear wing of another car, he said. They had a good start off the line, but not much doing after that. Saying that they reacted to Ollie's pit stop and covered him off, and they were battling for a few laps, but then suddenly saw him sliding in front across, heading into Spoon. As suspected, having viewed the footage afterwards, he says there was a big speed difference, which is characteristic of his cars. Glad he's okay. But safety car really scuppered his race. They're in the mix with Lawson and others before that, so he could have scored points, but ultimately off the back and at the back of the pack. Yeah, as I said with Behrman, Colapinto just saw Behrman closing in behind, moved over a little bit, and suddenly Behrman is on the grass. Fundamentally an issue with the rules. Surprised that there wasn't at least a warning for Colapinto, but again, it's probably the FIA not wanting to admit that these regulations are... Well, no, actually. I guess they don't want to bring attention to it so much. Did they actually comment on it? Hold on, let me check if there was an investigation for it. I don't remember seeing an investigation, but surely there would have been one. No investigation whatsoever. Really weird. I guess, no, I don't know why. I would have thought it had at least been looked at, but I guess deemed an instant racing incident. Carlos Sainz finishing P15 off the back of his points in China, but a very good race from him, managing to get ahead of one of the midfield cars. It's a step forward in the right direction, and yeah, hopefully for their sake they can use Albon's data to get into a better position for Miami. Arvid Lindblad is next up, finishing P14, saying that the safety car is the biggest thing that hurt them. Is running P10 and then dropped to P14, and they didn't have the pace to come back through. It's a shame, but it's disappointing not to finish in the points. However, Liam did so that's good for the team. Yeah, just needs to work on... I don't think there are many mistakes from Lindblad. Not from this weekend anyway. Obviously, spin early on in China last time out, but not really any comments from me on Lindblad. Doing a very good job in his first couple of races. Just need to keep that up. Gabby Bortoletto was in front of him, finishing P13. But yeah, on for points based on qualifying, but safety car, as suspected, pushed him behind and unable to score points from there. It's a shame. I think he could have been on 4 points. He would have been obviously close with the midfield. But yeah, obviously finishing with Hajar about 3 seconds off, and about a couple of seconds off of Hulkenberg and Ocon in front. Would they have been able to score points? I think he would have. I'll have to... Yeah, it's obviously close, but it would have been a lot closer had the safety car not impacted him. Hajar now in P12. Don't really know what happened. It must have just been the safety car, of course. Yes, he did pit before the safety car, and so obviously he lost a bunch of positions because of that, saying it felt like a long race, had a good start and a strong first lap. The plan was fight Pierre, but pitted before the safety car and fought with the Audis, but couldn't fight past them to get into the points like his teammate. Obviously starting behind Gasly, but not able to fight him for the majority of the race. And in fact, it was his teammate Max that was doing most of the fighting against the Albeit. Hulkenberg scoring P11, no points for him just yet, but on a good track, doing a good job from qualifying. However, dropped to P19 at the beginning of the race. That Audi just can't start, quite the opposite of the Ferraris and the McLarens. Made it difficult, but getting up to P11 from there was a very good job. As long as they can sort out their starts, might be able to score some more points, seeing as they've now somewhat fixed their reliability. Now on to the top 10, starting with Esteban Ocon scoring the point for Haas, making up for no points in the first two races, and obviously Behrman crashing in this one. Has Ocon scored a point? Yes. First points for Ocon. He believes himself that he could have fought for higher in the points. However, he got stuck behind Liam, so couldn't go much higher. It would have been interesting to see Ocon and Pierre fight again. They always seem to find each other on circuit, so it would have been funny to watch them battle once more. But Ocon unable to, and he finally scores his first points of the season. Liam Lawson, once again, coming from a poorish qualifying to scoring some decent points for him. I believe he got lucky with the safety car. Got a bit fortunate with the safety car, got him into the points, but he was able to stay there, which is obviously what you're supposed to do when you get lucky. You get lucky, but you've got to do something with that luck if you want to get any higher. Obviously, unable to maintain a good gap to the cars ahead. However, here it's still a good result to score 2 points for the team. Max Verstappen stuck behind Pierre pretty much the entire race. And yeah, he must have got sick of his old teammate by the end of that race. Tried everything to get back into points, work himself forward, had a better start, maximised his race and recovered positions. Tried to pass Pierre, but Pierre did a good job and made it too difficult. When he was trying to overtake, he had no battery on the main straight, and so he was waiting to see if he'd make a small mistake, but he did everything well and there was no way past. However, despite somewhat enjoying the battle with Pierre, it's still not where they want to be. They want to be a little bit higher up, fighting for those podium spots. So we'll see what they can do over the 5 weeks and whether they can close in or not. Pierre Gasly, on the other hand, is right where he wants to be fighting at the front in the midfield. Obviously, he's going to want to be higher up eventually. No one's here to be best of the rest. They're all there to be best of everyone. But P7 is a very good job from him, and fighting with Max for best of the rest and maintaining that position. Obviously, managing to stay at the front of the midfield despite the safety car. However, the safety car did not help everyone, of course, and it seemed to have scuppered Lewis a little bit, dropping him back to the back of the front. I believe he was always at the back of the front. Couldn't really get far. I think he only managed to pass only managed to pass Antonelli at the beginning of the race, and obviously once Antonelli got through, couldn't really do much more about anyone in front, and obviously finished behind Norris and couldn't do anything about the reigning world champion. Speaking of the reigning world champion, finishing in 5th place once again, obviously after 5th place last time in Australia. But a little bit off the pace from his teammate. However, still a pretty good showing. A little bit poor versus his teammate, but after his struggles that he had in practice, it's a very good job for him to score some decent points and move himself a little bit higher above, obviously, the midfield drivers in the championship, now taking 5th place from Behrman. Someone that was very disappointed with that safety car timing was obviously George Russell, believing that he would have won the race had the safety car not happened or happened at a better time. However, I don't quite believe that. I do think Piastri was very, very close and could have stopped Russell. But obviously it would have been very close, and obviously that Mercedes does have the advantage one-on-one, but in the mid-pack, seemingly that Mercedes cannot fight through other cars. Very reminiscent of when they were dominant in 2020. I think back to Monza that season. Valtteri had a poor start and then just couldn't get past anyone. And yeah, it felt very reminiscent of that. On to the podium drivers then. Charles Leclerc getting P3, got very lucky with the safety car, putting himself a little bit higher. And then obviously George's engine issue that caused him to slow down in Spoon. Charles getting past and up into the podium positions and managing to defend off George to keep that podium position. A little bit surprised by their pace this time around. They didn't really seem to have any. And no, never mind, he got a bit unlucky with the safety car, he said. Yeah. Had to be careful, manage tyres, etc. Race was good, just lacked a little bit of pace to catch Oscar. Still a very positive race and could defend the podium from George. Use the next couple of weeks to review and head back on track in Miami. Hopefully a little bit higher, a little bit closer to the very front of the front. Very good job from Charles, getting his second podium of the season. Someone getting his first podium of the season was Oscar Piastri. Very good drive from him. Could have won had the safety car not come out and helped Antonelli. Yeah, George didn't really have the pace in the first stint to try and attack Oscar. So Oscar was able to just lead up until his pit stop and obviously the safety car. But at least Oscar has finally started and finished a race. Yeah, saying it would have been interesting to see what happened out the safety car. He could keep George behind, and just before the stops they were pulling away a little bit. But to be disappointed with a second after the first two races is a very good achievement for this time in Japan. And last but not least, we have the race winner, Kimi Antonelli. 2 wins in a row. First time since Charles Leclerc in 2019 that the first 2 wins of your career are first 2 in a row. There's a better way of saying that, but I'm not sure how. But yeah, first 2 in a row. Can he make it 3 in a row with Miami? We'll have to wait and see. That one I actually don't know, and I can actually question whether it will happen or not. Unlike the rest of the previous 5-6 videos. But a very good job from Antonelli after the safety car. Before the safety car was a little bit on the worse side. Obviously with a very poor start, dropping down to 6th, I think maybe 7th even. But he made use of the safety car and just pulled away 13 seconds to Piastri. Not entirely a big gap, but it's still big enough after, 30 odd laps after the safety car, so still a very good job from him. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see, can he take the fight to George? Seems like at the moment he is. Can he take it all the way, however? We'll have to wait and see till we get to Europe, as that is where he did fall down last season. But obviously, Miami next up, where he got his first sprint pole. So it's a happy hunting ground for him so far. And last but not least, I did not prepare this, but we have the predictions. If the program will load. Hopefully this shows the correct predictions. It should do. Why is it starting in the wrong order? Oh, I know why it's starting in the wrong order, because otherwise it doesn't work. Cadillac. Let me get the Excel spreadsheet up instead so that I can make sure it's correct with what our predictions were. Predictions Championship. Come on, hurry up. Why does Excel take so long to open up? Take a drink. There we go. Yes, this was our predictions. Perez was the better Cadillac man in qualifying, so I miss out on the point there. Gasly was the better man in the Alpine, so gets the point there. So we all get points there. Bortoletto was the better one in Audi, so only the RNG misses out on the point there. Ocon was the better one in qualifying for Haas, and so we all miss out on points there. Alonso was the better one at Aston Martin, so we all score points there. Over at RB, it was Lindblad, so we all score points there. For Williams, it was Sainz, so I miss out, and so does my brother, on points for Williams. At Ferrari, it was Charles Leclerc, so only my brother scores points. At Red Bull, it was not Max Verstappen, so we all miss out on points there. It was Hajar. Similarly, at Mercedes, we all predicted Russell, but it was Antonelli. And for McLaren, it was Oscar Piastri, the better McLaren in qualifying, so only the RNG scores points there. P3 was obviously Oscar Piastri, so none of us scored points as we all went for a Ferrari. P2 was George Russell, so only the weighted random number scores the 2 points there. Me and my brother getting a point for having Kimi in the top 3. And P1 was Kimi Antonelli, pole position twice in a row. The weighted random number gets the double point there. So from qualifying, I score 6 points. My brother scores 7, and the weighted random number scores 9. Heading into the race, the main Cadillac man was Sergio Perez, so I scored a point there only. At Alpine, it was Gasly, so everyone but the weighted random number scores points there. Hulkenberg was the better Audi man, and so only my brother scores points. Ocon was the better driver at Haas. I say better driver. Was the driver that finished at Haas, and so scores points there. I do not. I am the only one that does not. Fernando Alonso finished for Aston and was the only one to do so. So we all score points for Alonso. Lawson was the higher RB in the race, and so only I miss out on points there. Sainz was the higher finisher in Williams, so we all score points for him. Leclerc was the higher Ferrari man, so everyone that is a person scores points there. For Red Bull, Verstappen was the one that was the better Red Bull driver, the higher Red Bull driver, and so again, everyone that is a person scored points there. And at Mercedes, it was Kimi Antonelli, so no one scores points there. And at McLaren, it was Oscar Piastri, the higher McLaren finisher, and so only my brother scores points there. P3 was Charles Leclerc, so only the weighted random number scores the double points for that. Lewis was not in the top 3, so I score no points. And my brother scores 1 point for having Kimi in the top 3. P2 was Oscar Piastri, so none of us score the double points there. However, I and the weighted random number, I and my brother score a singular point for having Kimi and Charles in the top 3. And last but not least, Kimi Antonelli was the race winner, so only the weighted random number scores the 2 points for that. The one random prediction was how many retirements that there would be. There were 2. I predicted, and so did the RNG, predicted 3, and my brother predicted 5. The clarification was that there were DNSs did not count, but that didn't matter anyway, as there were no DNSs in the first place. So from the race, I score 6 points, my brother scores 11, and the RNG scores 8. Pretty poor weekend from me, as I score 12 overall, my brother scores 18, and the RNG scores 17. Meaning that the RNG closes in on me, and I lose a massive gap to my brother. The points after this round are 57 for my brother, 51 for me, and 48 for the RNG. That is that for the Japan Grand Prix wrap up, and I am finally caught up. Hopefully I won't be as lazy for the next ones. Hopefully I have enough time to get the Miami Friday running up, but I am a little bit busy in the next couple of hours, so maybe not, but I should be fine. Other than that, have a good rest of your day. Bye. Oh, no, that's the wrong button. Bye.